Morning, it's Thursday, November 16th, and on Tuesday night, I don't know what time it was, but late Tuesday afternoon or Tuesday night, something good finally happened in Congress. Congress passed the bill. They passed the bill to avert the shutdown, and the bill was passed by a bipartisan vote. The Democrats bailed Mike Johnson out. Many Republicans refused to back more government spending, and the Democrats supplied the bulk of the votes for the Speaker's bill to extend federal funding till early 2024. That's a big turnaround. That's a monumental step in the right direction for this Congress. We're showing people that we can work together when something good needs to be done. Now, I'm not saying that I'm in favor of whatever they passed. I haven't done a lot of research on that particular matter. There's no money in this bill for Israel or Ukraine. But the mere fact that the Democrats stepped to the plate after refusing several times in the past to help out the Republican Speaker of the House, they cost McCarthy his job when you look at it from a different perspective. But this time the Democrats stepped to the plate and they got a huge hit over the fence. They hit one over the fence, as they would say in baseball. And so I'm quite happy right now about this situation. So almost all the Democrats and a majority of Republicans overcame the opposition of the GOP conservatives to produce this special expedited procedure bill that required a supermajority. This wasn't a vote where you win by 2 or 3. You had to win this thing by 2/3. Now, this was a gamble. This was a big gamble on the part of Mr. Johnson. It was a big gamble that he would get a bunch of Democrats to help him with the package. A package that we all know his own members were unwilling to back. So the vote was 336 to 95, and in the end, 209 Democrats and 127 Republicans held hands, so to speak, and joined to pass the bill. The final tally vividly reflected a dynamic that has been dogging both Johnson and his predecessor, McCarthy. The House GOP lacks the political will to keep the government funded. Let's remember that the Republicans are essentially cheap bastards. They have no feeling for the people in this country that need the funding. Constant threats facing Social Security and Medicare. What do they think the government is responsible for? Are they not responsible for taking care of those who live and work in this country? And so it's a wonderful thing right now that the Speaker of the House can rely on Democratic votes to get stuff done instead of facing the political backlash of a shutdown that the members of his own party stand for. Why don't they understand? Why don't the Republicans understand the need for the proper funding? I'm not saying we should be pissing money away. That's a whole other issue. I would appreciate it if they put in some rules or regulations every time they passed a certain bill so we didn't get cheated out of the money that we have put aside, which happens more often than not because there are no measures ever put in place to ensure that the proper people are getting the money to spend. Senator Chuck Schumer of New York, the majority leader in the Senate, told all the reporters that he could find that he wanted the Senate to vote on the bill as soon as possible. And I think the Senate will vote on it as soon as possible, and I think it will pass. And this happened even though the White House didn't like the Johnson plan, the plan that he released last week that had these two separate dates called the CR, the continuing resolution, because one of these funding bills ends on January 19th, and I think the second one ends on February 2nd. So we're not over the hump yet. But the country should be smiling this morning because it finally got a Congress for one particular moment to work together. Now let's hope that this attitude spreads into the next few months. Because in a couple of months, the lawmakers are going to find themselves in the same position that they are in, or that they were in, trying to get the money to keep the spending going, to keep the government working. I'm not so sure that this issue is resolved forever, because there are deep divisions within the Republican Party. There were conservatives that flatly refused to back any stopgap spending measure. And of course you have the House Freedom Caucus, which has about 36 members, who categorically announced ahead of the vote that they would oppose the measure. They're pissed off because it contained no spending reductions, no border security, not a single meaningful win for the American people. Are they kidding? The bill is passed. That's a win. They said the Republicans have to stop negotiating against ourselves over fears of what the Senate might do. So we cannot continue to roll over today and we'll fight tomorrow. That's the ideas of a group that is not properly managed, that don't have the right thought processes going on. So I don't know if this is the beginning of a wonderful time or the end of a bad period and the beginning of another bad period. So there is one thing I would appreciate if Mike Johnson did. If he admitted that Trump lost the election and admitted that his attitude toward January 6th was incorrect. That would be a wonderful thing for the nation to hear. But we'll just have to wait and see what happens after January 19th or so and February 2nd or whatever those dates are. So I leave you with that this morning. Good news. I'm smiling, but I don't know if we're 100% over the hump. It's not that we'll ever be 100% over the hump. Thanks for listening. Bye.